We're back and talking with Janice Holly Brown from Gastonia about her book, Only Pack What You Can Carry, which talks about the walls that she built around her life as a 10-year-old, and after a series of sledgehammer blows, she started taking these trips alone to tear those walls down. Maybe not deliberately to do that, but that's what happened over the course of time. And we were talking about the key essentials to life's journey that you discovered in the course of taking these trips, which you continue to take, by the way, I should point that out. One is solitude, and solitude leads you to answer some big questions in life, which results from number 2 of the key essentials, introspection.
Introspection. And introspection is only possible in solitude because we spend our lives pushing down that voice that wants to be heard. We bury it. And so it takes some time for it to scratch its way back up to the surface. I think that introspection for all of us is important, especially at key junctures in our lives. You know, every time we turn a decade older is a perfect time to do it. But I've spent 10 years really thinking about where I want my life to go, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I know what I don't want to be, and I know what I don't want in my life. And I think sometimes that might be even more important than knowing for sure what you do want.
As you went through these stages, and there are 2 more to talk about, did you discard things in your life? Did you change your life's direction? Did you make alternative plans?
I did. And one of the biggest things that I did was just get rid of toxic relationships, toxic situations. I started saying yes to the things that really filled me up and no to the things that didn't. And I was saying yes to a lot of things I felt obligated to do because of my position or because it just was the right thing to do on paper, but it wasn't fulfilling me. So I made those shifts. But I think one of the biggest things was to just at the moment that I recognize something is not positive or, as I said earlier, toxic, I don't want anything to do with it.
How difficult was that? Because that involves other people. It involves sometimes upending your whole life. It's got to be incredibly difficult.
And those conversations can be really difficult to have as well. I'm sure there are people out there who are deliberately not watching this show because of that. But I just had to do it. And also I was too busy, so I wasn't really able to enjoy the things that I really, really love, like riding horses and hiking, you know, spending a whole day hiking. I was not able to do that. I was just trying to cram too much into my day. So I really tried to simplify. And I feel I'm just much happier.
And that leads us to the number 3, which is courage. Does it take the courage to undergo the introspection and the asking of life's questions, or does it take more courage to act on what you discover about yourself?
I think both, Mike. I think that for many of us, and one of the reasons that we haven't thought deeply about where we want our lives to go is because we might not like the answer. You know, that's a scary place to go. But once we summon the courage to do that, then we can ask ourselves, okay, what is holding me back from this thing that I really want to do? And we'll keep it simple. For me, it was canyons. You know, I really want to do these canyons. Then it gives you an opportunity to figure out a way to build that courage muscle so that you can do the thing that you want to do. And you know, I'm not ashamed to say it, it took me 13 tries, 13 separate trips out to southern Utah before I finally got into a canyon. Because I would get out there, I'm afraid of the edge and I'm afraid of heights. I would get out there and I would stand on the edge of one of these things and I just couldn't do it. So
What allowed you to do it the first time? What finally pushed you over the edge, literally?
Pushed me, that's perfect. And that's exactly pretty much what happened because I was stuck. I wasn't going anywhere. I was on a riding trip in Costa Rica. This was after my riding accident that really did a number on my confidence. And I'd been asked to be in a photo shoot, and they wanted me to ride this really, really spirited horse down the beach at full throttle, trailing a sarong behind me. And I've ridden my whole life. It's the one thing I know how to do really well. I couldn't let that horse run. I was too afraid of falling off. And I remember thinking, the 10-year-old Janice would be so disappointed in you. She would just be disgusted and walk away. And I needed to find her right at that moment. So I said to myself, this is it. I am done. I am done letting fear run my life. Janice is back. I took off down the beach, and the next trip to Utah, I went in the canyon.
You write in the book that you must push your envelope to the very fringes of your limits, and then you must push it some more. You will be completely and utterly amazed at what happens. Now, this comes from somebody who had success with this. Is it possible that I could go do this and not have success with it, pushing the envelope, and discovering that I really don't like where it took me?
There's nothing wrong with that. You're discovering what resonates for you and what doesn't. But at the very least, Mike, what you're doing is you're exercising your capacity to be brave when you need to be brave. And you'll be able to use that in many, many other aspects of your life.
And the last of these 4 key essentials to life is commitment. What does that mean in this context?
In this context, it means committing to carving out solitude, time for introspection, committing to always challenging yourself for your whole life, and then committing to not living a life less than the one you want for yourself.
You know, you had to be courageous in the face of overcoming your fear of heights. You had to be courageous in the face of getting on a horse after having a terrible horse accident that doctors said you would never walk again afterward, and you walked into the studio just fine, so obviously they were wrong. But was facing those moments of physical danger, did the courage required to face those moments also then give you the courage to do what you needed to do mentally, physically, and around you in your life?
Absolutely. And I remember being in a very animated board meeting one time, and some difficult decisions had to be made, and people were freaking out. And I just remember sitting there, it was cool as a cucumber, thinking, I've been in the canyons, this is nothing. And so I was able to be the voice of reason while people were just, you know, there was a very difficult question on the table. And I'm so grateful for all of those physical challenges, because they really have helped me become more courageous in my relationships with people and my job.
Now, there's another side to this in the book that you write about, just parenthetically, that might interest a lot of people who are going, I'm not doing this. But they might do it if they knew this, and that is that when you go on a trip by yourself, you say, you can be anybody you want to be.
It's so much fun.
Do you do that? Do you become somebody else?
Well, maybe not somebody else, but another version of myself that I don't get to try on at home. And it really is fun to be on the plane or in the car thinking, okay, for the next 4 days, who am I going to be? You know, am I going to be Elvira, or am I going to be Mother Teresa? Or, you know, and it's so much fun. And at the end of the day, you know, you do a debrief with yourself, and you can kind of try on new behaviors and new attitudes and just see how they fit.
I know that you spent one whole day not talking. So when people talk to you, you refuse to speak back. They must have thought you were a lunatic.
Mission accomplished.
You don't care. You've done a lot of different things in your life. As you mentioned, you're a horseback rider. You've done canyoneering, solo hiking. You've learned to fly a trapeze. What do you suggest to people who might be watching tonight, who might want to get the book, read it, and then may be inspired to do what you've done? How should they begin?
Well, I think it depends on one's personality. If you're aggressive by nature, you can probably just go take the leap, literally. But if you are the kind of person who likes to think things through, have all of your ducks in a row, it may be you start small and then you build. And in fact, that's the process called SET, stress exposure training. They use it in the military all the time. Before they make you jump out of a plane, they make you jump off a cardboard box. And then they just build your capacity bit by bit. And we can do that in our own way as well. But it's really highly individual. Again, I'm pretty aggressive, but it took me 13 times to get in that canyon.
And one of the things that you said that you must do when you're approaching this, when you're trying to be introspective and figure out what your inner voice is telling you should be or what you should do, is that you must learn to listen. How do you know what to listen for? Are you talking to yourself? Is it just a voice in the back of your head?
Sometimes I talk to myself. Sometimes I will be walking along, thinking about something entirely different, or not thinking at all, just enjoying the scenery and how beautiful it is, and then the epiphany will come. And it stops me in my tracks. But again, it's because I've carved out this piece of time where whatever is working itself around in there can come to the surface.
Why the title, Only Pack What You Can Carry?
Well, of course, the book is not a packing list.
Right.
It's not going to tell you what to put in your suitcase, but it's a metaphor for life. We carry around way too much junk, way, way, way too many burdens, too much guilt and regret. And life's journey is just going to go so much more smoothly if we only put what we can carry in our suitcase.
I take it you'll continue to take these trips alone as life goes on?
Yes.
Wow. Janice Holly Booth, Only Pack What You Can Carry. It's published, interestingly enough, by National Geographic. I didn't know they published books like this. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for watching. Join us again next.